What's up, everybody? We are live. We are back. I'm back. I'm Parth here with Pierre and Quell, the Philly Blitz Pod 96. Derek Barnett, right?
Yeet.
The
Are there
recoverer
any?
of the
Are there?
most important fumble recovery in franchise history and plays in directly into what we're discussing today on the pod. Before we get into that, how are you guys doing, man? It's been a while. Good to be back.
It's been a while since we've seen your face, bro.
I know. Exams, dude. Hey, we passed, and that's all that matters, baby.
It's all that
I'm going
matters.
on. I'm
Go
continuing.
Birds.
Go Birds.
Survive in advance, my boy.
Exactly.
Well, nah, man, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. The off season is trudging along, man. The draft is creeping up next month. First wave of free agency is done. Things are going. Things are going. What about you, Q?
Wubba lubba dub dub to those who celebrate. It is I, the one and only Marquil from Ons. I am rolling off of coffee and adrenaline. It's not really coffee, but if you know, you know. Man, what? Just draft season is, like you said, in full swing. So, been in the middle of a bunch of podcasts, a bunch of scouting reports, a lot of things. So, it's good it's kind of like a breath of fresh air to talk some birds, get my head back in the books, for lack of a better term.
And if you haven't tuned into the Boomer Bust episodes, man, I highly recommend. You're doing an amazing job with those, man. You had JP on. We're gonna get that out tomorrow. I know you've had Arif on. Who am I missing?
Alex and AJ.
Yeah, but definitely tap in with those.
Quality.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. So here we are, brothers. I guess you can consider it the start of a new era. I mean, the only one lingering around is Lane. I like to consider Lane. I guess his new name for me might be the Undertaker, because he was the one that stayed around the longest. Watching BG go off, watching that picture up there reminded me of, I'm not sure if you guys are big wrestling fans, but the WrestleMania when Triple H and the Undertaker had the Hell in the
Shawn
Cell.
Michaels.
Shawn was the referee at the end of the match. They was up there at the top of the stage, arm to arm, like end of the era. And it's kind of what this like represented here. Brandon Graham, of course, we had Kelsey and Cox last year. Lane is the last one of a different breed left. The last one of the scene us go through the trenches, for lack of better terms. So
When we're saying era, we're just saying Andy Reid drafted players. Well, Lane was Andy Reid time, right? Or he was right on the edge of Chip.
I mean, I guess I wouldn't necessarily.
Because what I was going to say is, if we're saying the last Super Bowl, we still got Jake too.
Yeah, no. I wasn't necessarily just talking about the last Super Bowl. It's hard to necessarily explain when I say an era.
I know what you mean.
Sure.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm getting too much into it, but it's the old guard, right? It's just kind of they're on their way out. But hey, Lane restructured for 3 years. Said he's going to be back.
Wait, 3 years. I thought it was 1 year. Then he said he could play 3 years, or is it because he had 2 years on his deal?
2027. I thought.
I think he probably had 2 years left on the deal, and then he just added one more.
Okay, so it's a 3-year deal full. So 2027 is when he said he's going to try to play till, and I mean he said he takes it as a challenge. But wait, before we get into that, we should give BG some love. I mean, what a player, and I feel like we kind of went through this early on in the season when he first got injured, and we had a lot of moments just talking about what BG meant to the team, to the city. I saw someone tweet that he's the perfect Philly athlete because Kelsey got all the attention, all these other guys got the attention, they had the speech, but BG was just like he's just like Unc, he's just kind of been around, and you just know him, and he's just there, and he's got the white in his beard, and he's always talking smack, and he's become an icon in his own way, and he's our icon. Right near the end with the podcast and everything, Kelsey kind of became like this national darling media. BG's our guy. He's just Philly through and through. He wants to stick around in the building. He's like, I want to sit down with Jeff and sit down and try to see how I can continue to help out this team. So he's just like, he's a representation of that era of the Eagles, like you kind of mentioned, Quell. And it's just kind of special. But it's funny that we just did this earlier in the season. And then we were like, oh my God, Brandon, why could you not keep your mouth shut? when he goes and has the old AJ and Jalen thing on the radio, and then that all gets sorted out, and then there's like BG might have been talking where he shouldn't have been talking, and but the thing is even with all that, I think everyone understood where BG was coming from, and that he loves this team. He wanted them to succeed, and he might have gone about it in a different way than other people would have liked, but that was what you knew about Brandon Graham, is that he loves the Eagles. He loves his teammates, and he was willing to do whatever to make sure that they were always in a successful place. And so he comes back for the Super Bowl. I mean, it's stuff out of a storybook. Re-tears the tricep during the game, keeps playing, just says, "Put me in, coach." You can't write these sort of stories, and they sound cliche when you write them in like in a storybook or something, but BG's was real life, called a bust for years. And then the whole Earl Thomas controversy and all of that. And you look at him now, and, I don't think anybody would want Earl Thomas, especially near the end of his career, Earl Thomas.
Some of the stuff that Earl Thomas was involved in.
Not my king. He would never.
Exactly. But, and I mean, one more thing. He's so influential. You got hardcore Ohio Staters like Quell willing to give him love, man. Hey, where'd you go to school, Quell?
The team up north.
What? No, man. BG, the standard Eagle, bro. 15 years, all in an Eagle uniform. Like, you talk about it, Parth. This kind of story, it kind of resembles the perfect Philadelphia story arc. Like, you just mentioned him being labeled the bust. Going through the injury that he suffered. I can't remember which year it was, but battling back from that, like he talked about it in his speech, where he was like, he didn't want to come out of the house, right? Like all of the the noise surrounding him and everything like that, and then him finding his footing, and since then he's just kind of been the consummate Eagle. Like you talk about it, how much the players revere him, the fans, staff around the team, it's commonplace to you to hear like just the energy that he brings, like the infectious spirit, like just the overall consistency. Like he's just, like I said, the standard Eagle, right? I think that's why, even at the presser earlier this week, that's why you saw, guys from the past like Fletch show up. You saw guys from the present like Jalen, like Jalen's Hunt, like Nolan Smith. All of them were there, right? Just because of, what he means to this team. Like he's truly a franchise icon. I think when you look at, the younger guys, like I just mentioned, Nolan, Jalix, BG is someone who, you can point to and say, this is the guy you embody. This is the guy you follow. Like, we see oftentimes with the Eagles Entertainment, their productions and everything like that, like how in the NovaCare, they have up the different posters of like franchise legends, like Chuck Bednarik and other guys like that. It's time for BG to get one put up, man.
Hell yeah, brother. I like that.
Yeah,
I like
really.
If
anybody
legend. Embodies the Eagles like that toughness, that grit, just like shit talking no matter what. Sorry, I know we're live, but like just no matter what, motor mouth. You had that the classic video of Fletch telling him to shut up. Like I mean, just motor mouth. He's Philadelphia, man, and he deserves to be on that wall. You're damn right. And I mean, dude, do you know how like special and important to the locker room? I saw somebody tweet this as well. You have to have Jalen make a goofy face. I mean, the Aura King himself was willing to make a goofy face.
When y'all were watching,
we never seen that.
When y'all were watching VG's retirement ceremony, were y'all watching on NBC Sports Philadelphia or on the Eagles like app or website?
I was only able to see stuff after I was in meetings.
Well, the Eagles on Twitter, but whatever the Eagles posted.
I must say, NBC Sports Philadelphia, they did an amazing job capturing the aura of Jalen Hurts. I must say, they had a lot of good cutaways.
You are on that line. The aura
tilting really. It's a thin line, and you walking right there, brother.
Just as long as you're not saying this in your Love Hurts hoodie, then I guess I'll take it, man. But brother, oh man.
So just to touch on BG a bit, man, it's pretty emotional for me. I tried not to cry a bit watching this because I mean, kind of like you said, like I said earlier, in a bit of the end of an era. I made a joke that my wife took a bit literal. Like, no, you didn't watch him grow up. You were like 14. I was like, man, let me live some. But even in the same breath of that,
you know what?
like,
I to that point, I think it is a type of growing up because when we were kids, there's like it's just like it's fragments of games and things like that. At least for me, when we were 14, dude, that's when this started becoming a thing. Like that's when these sorts of things started becoming a figment in our imagination of just like you lived the game, you lived the Eagles, like and it was like those guys we grew up with them as well. It was a different type of growing up.
I was about to say that's a great way of putting it. Like how I explained it back to her was, yeah, I didn't grow up watching him, but a great way to put it is I felt like I grew up with Brandon Graham. Watching Brandon Graham when he got on the Eagles, that was my freshman year in high school, trying to figure life out, things of that nature. And that was him trying to figure out just going from position to position, watching the team go from 4-3 to 3-4 under the Bill Davis, doing the switch and things of that nature. Just like so many things that he had to go through to get to the point that he finished, for lack of a better term. And I just look at it as so sentimental because, like, a lot of things of this era of Eagles football, not resent, but I tie back to myself with, like, even in the era of, just like I said, my first year of high school. Do you guys know that Brandon Graham was Howie Roseman's first draft pick? Like the first guy that he had an opportunity when he had authority of what this team was going to be. That was what he decided to put his faith in, and the guy who would embody this Philadelphia team. And it's kind of like what you just said when you guys were talking. That's exactly what he did on and off the field, from what he did in the community. And it was cool listening to him talk, because when he talked about it, he said how after the first couple of years when he had the bus label put on him, he didn't want to come outside. He didn't want to do some of the cool stuff that he was doing for the community, or that he has done for the community. And his wife had to kind of get him out the funk. And just both on and off the field for him, it was cool to watch him grow as a player, seeing him finish third all time in franchise history behind just Reggie and Trent with 76.5 sacks. Like, I remember when Brandon got his first sack, it was sitting here like, damn, 76.5. 15 years later is pretty amazing. For even just us saying 15 years later, for him to be the longest tenured Eagle of all time with the 206 games, it's watching him both as a fan of the game and of the Eagles has been an honor and a privilege, because as a guy who prides himself in the whole draft process, the landing spot matters. Guys not a bust after 1 or 2 years. You got to let them grow into their own. Like you said, part of the 3-year rule. You harp on that all the time, where you kind of got to let these guys become what they become. And just watching Brandon go from what he was to how he finished, it's just been awesome, man.
Mm-hmm. No, storybook career, man. And that picture was wild, Quell. I mean, you see Howie. He looks whatever. How many years was it? 14, 15 years. He looks 15 years younger. I mean, like the draft room looks 15 years older. It's just he's seen a lot of eras, and you don't get that opportunity with a lot of players, and it's sad that it works out that way, but we got that opportunity with BG, and it's not something we should take for granted. So we all got to see a storied career, and he's someone we'll definitely tell our kids about, just like, man, this guy, like, you talk about the Super Bowl and all those types of things, like Brandon Graham's name is always going to come up. So shout out to Double Nickels, man.
Yeah, just to put a bow on it, I had a question I wanted to ask y'all. Like, when you look back at the career of Brandon Graham, like, for you personally, like, what's a lesson or something that you can look at and kind of like take away? Like, I know for me, like, I think, a lot of the times as fans, I feel like we look at these players as like commodities or like chess pieces on a board, but like Brandon, he kind of transcended that mode of thinking. Like, for Eagles fans specifically, like, you see it and, you hear like the interactions that he has, or, with media, with fans and different things of that nature. In the media aspect of it, you touched on it part of just even this last season with the whole AJ and Jalen thing. And it's kind of almost to a fault sometimes with him, but just like overall, just the guy that he is, right? Like this is a guy who, you know, he didn't become a full-time starter until his 6th season and become a Pro Bowler until his 11th season. He didn't have a double-digit sack season until his 13th season, right? And, you know, like you outlined, Quell, all the, you know, not trauma, but the trials and tribulations that he kind of had to endure, and just different things of that nature. I think for me, the main lesson that I take away is, like, you guys know me. I'm someone who's constantly in his head, right? Like overthinking, you know, like
You?
yeah.
That
Just
guy.
the sort of internal expectations that I put on myself, it's kind of a burden at times. But I think, you know, just from, you know, watching Brandon, you know, listening to him talk even at his presser, main thing I take away from him is, you know, just keep going, you know, like keep persevering, you know, no matter what what it looks like, what the adversity is, man. You know, as long as you hold yourself accountable, you do the best that you can, you just keep going. Things are gonna work out.
I mean, you said the word I was going to use, perseverance. You know, it's hard, you know, when people talk about you a certain way. And it's not necessarily going to be the media in our day-to-day lives. It might be, you know, a manager that you work with that doesn't think that you're up to par, right? And it's like, well, how are you going to respond? You know, you can feel bad for yourself and end up being a bust like a lot of other guys we've seen, or you just keep pushing, you persevere, and you do those types of things. But since you use that, I think I'll go with the one that I think is right up my alley. It's just like wear your heart on your sleeve. You know, you can do it. You know, you should just be who you are, and people will appreciate you for that. Now, it might lead to situations where you're wishing you can backpedal a little bit, and I can confirm that my life has also been like that. But at the end of the day, everyone knows who he is and why he did what he did. And I even said that at the beginning. I was like, yeah, he pissed us off. And it's like, bruh, like, come on. Like, why you got to say that? But he's doing it out of the love of his heart, you know? And it's just because that's who he is. And that authenticity means something. And especially in a world where authenticity is lacking, to say the least. I think it's important to be who you are. And so it might not be, you know, necessarily being boisterous and loud and talking smack like BG, but it just be yourself, you know, be who you are and don't be afraid to be who you are. And, you know, show love to people, man, and have fun. Life is like, there's so much bad stuff that happens in life, dude. Like, just enjoy it. There's good stuff too. And that's what you got to go with. So.
I mean, I think that's a great way to put it. Parfout, you guys both made great statements of the stay where your feet are. You understand what's your story isn't everyone else's story, for lack of a better term. You kind of got to move at the beat of your own path. You got circumstances or just your own growth. You like I just laid out of having the opportunity to watch Brandon just growing up through life and what that has meant to me personally. I guess the one thing I can say I took away from him, just I ain't gonna say one thing because you guys both said the two things that I would have said prior, but the most notable thing that I can say I took away from him is this isn't a journey that you take alone, man. I have conversations with people often where it's like, yo, I know this road that we take on just life in general, not even just you in a career path or you trying to do it could be anything that you're trying to accomplish in life. It can get lonely because I mean the people aren't out there on the grind with you when you gotta study or when you the one doing the homework or when you doing all the stuff that you gotta do out here. It's you. You the one who gotta do the work. And I mean, you deserve the credit when it gets there. But in the same breath of that, you kind of got to surround yourself with a good crowd to help you keep your head in the game, man. And it's not easy. Sometimes you need conversations. You need people that's going to tell you the rough things. You need people that's going to tell you exactly what you need to hear at that point in time and kind of trigger you into the mode that you need to be in. I started with the whole situation of him after the whole bus label with how his wife helped him get out of that. But you could even look no further than on the field circumstances than like you laid out, Pierre, the video of him talking to trash. I believe it was against the 49ers and Fletcher, like, hey, next play. Like you need those kind of guys beside you like that help keep you focused on what the goal in mind is. And I like to think Brandon did a really good job of helping surround himself with people that didn't allow him to A, become complacent, but B, become the best version of himself that he wants to be.
Well put. Well put. It takes a village. Thank you, BG. As my teams goes off, never stops. But Philly legend, like Pierre said, put him up, put him up, ring of honor, whatever it's got to be. But 5'5" should be there, man.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
I don't know.
Can't kick through it right now, so I'm not doing what I can. You want me to get up and kick it?
You think BG's a Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know.
2 Super Bowl. It's just the edge rusher. There's a lot of edge rushers, man. And like he's third on the Eagles, right? So
yeah. So I mean, I guess
legend. Sorry.
We know Reggie's a Hall of Famer. The guy right in front of BG is Trent Cole. Do you guys think Trent Cole's a Hall of Famer?
He doesn't have the rings, to be fair, but
yeah.
rings aren't the only thing. And there's a lot of guys. I mean, it took Jared Allen years, right? He wasn't like it took a long time. So who knows? But there's a lot of backlog, and that's why they have the Ring of Honor, and that's important too, because and I think it falls into the other point that I made. It's just like he's not a national, legend, but he's our legend, right? So. I think
perfect.
That's important.
That's a perfect Philly athlete.
Yeah. All right.
So before we move on, shifting the conversation kind of back to on the field, right? Like BG's retired. The only edges that I consider
should we get into this after? Because we're going to talk about the signing.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Right. Yeah. Because I think there's going to be a lot to talk about around the signing as well. So we talked about Lane at the beginning, last of the old guard. I mean, he's a badass dude. He's like, I take it as a challenge to be the old man and just, go up against these young guys every day and still dominate. And he has, so it's just like, shit, keep doing it, brother. Like, who am I to tell you to stop? Like just stop when you want. But even with the extension, I wouldn't be surprised if we see tackle taken in the next 2 years, right? Early on.
This year.
You think it's this year?
Going to
happen. I don't know.
Happen.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Happen.
When you say it's gonna happen, you mean in round? You mean in like round 1 or 2?
1.
That's what I was about to ask. So, do you think we stay at 32?
My whole gist of it is everybody. In an ordinary world, we're all probably basing this off 2017. Like, well, yeah, they traded back in 2017 and this, that, and the third. Well, A, the quarterback class was much better in 2017. B, the guy they got traded up for was Lamar Jackson, a 2-time MVP. And, I mean, it's not that they knew he would be that, but that kind of goes to show you what that quarterback class was.
He had a Heisman.
Unless you think some guy is coming up for Jackson Dart. And, I mean, Jackson Dart has been receiving a lot of love. Mel Kiper had him going ninth in his recent podcast to the same.
Wait.
That hair is not.
I didn't see this.
Yeah,
Mel Kiper had Jackson Dart going ninth
to the
overall.
Saints. The Saints coming up to get him.
He's lost his mind. He lost his mind a long time ago.
But I mean, he's not going crazy because Daniel Jeremiah, who dropped the pod the same day, he didn't have him as high as ninth, but he also had Jackson Dart in the first round. So
first round. Like, first round, I understand. Like, I could. That's why I was asking about 32 because I could see someone moving up. I mean, watching that Gator game, I would not touch him with a 10-foot pole. First off, but I mean, some of these guys, dude. I mean, it's just like. And I guess it reflects how people draft as well, but they're just like, there's just like you can't trust so many of these mock drafts as they're just.
I remember, I think it was 21 or 2. He had him to the Steelers, whatever it was. The Steelers drafted him, which I can see that. That makes sense. But this Jackson Dart.
Oh, I thought you were talking about 20 or 21, and I was like, huh?
Yeah,
like,
that's your pick.
Okay, yeah, no, I was thinking about the year. I was thinking about the year 2020 or 2021, and I was like, wait, did something happen with the Steelers? Also, what a weird situation. Weird situation. Like Russ is sitting in the third chair that they always have in a hotel room, just kind of sitting there waiting to see what Aaron Rodgers does. Like, oh my God.
Aaron Rodgers holding teams hostage in the
What is
year of
going on?
2025 is insane.
Hey,
It's crazy.
listen.
No. Let's here in the Philly Blitz. We aren't here for the hot takes. We are here for cold-blooded media, and in the cold-blooded media in the real world, Aaron Rodgers is probably holding about 2, maybe 3 teams hostage. But
how?
it all
Why?
starts because first of all, it's because he's delusional. He should just pick a damn team and stop thinking that the Minnesota Vikings are going to sign him when the Vikings don't want him.
He has to complete the prophecy.
You're not complete the prophecy. They are okay. Complete it somewhere else.
No, that's not how it works. It needs to be the Vikings.
No. Well, if he signs with the Vikings, let's just say I'll be very surprised. But some of these other teams, from the Steelers from the Steelers to the Giants and the Browns, there are conversations to be had there, maybe there. But I mean, I think the whole conversation starts there with that position, with him in that position. There are a couple of old guys out there, like even Russ. He's probably one of the dominoes that falls after the Aaron Rodgers dominoes fall.
No, that's what they said. They said Russ is literally waiting to see what the Steelers do on Aaron Rodgers. He's ready to sign. He's sitting there waiting to see what Aaron does. It's a little sad. That's what I was saying. He's in that extra chair they got in the hotel room, just looking at the bed, seeing what's going on. He's like, oh, dangerous.
Well,
going back to the main point about a tackle, taking a tackle in this draft, as we talk about Russ, or what were you saying, Pierre? You had something else to say about this?
No, just on the quarterback position, I could see, like, if Tennessee, if they go Abdul Carter, number 1 overall, I could see them moving back into the end of the first round and maybe taking a Jackson Dart. I mean, I don't know how different he necessarily is from what they already have, but I mean,
seems like
teams need quarterbacks.
Levis was Kentucky, right? Hey man. I was about to say, I gotta step in. We're gonna refer back to Parf's question, because if y'all trying to have this maintain a surprise, then we got to maintain these conversations.
Huh? Is there a surprise? Is it for me?
Yeah, it's for you too. We can talk about it later, but
I love surprises. Okay,
let's just refer back to the offensive line conversation.
All right, so O-line, yeah. All right, regardless. Okay, so O-line, point being, even with Lane's extension, they need to address it. You never know. And Lane has been injury prone, and we just lost Fred Johnson.
That stinks, man.
Please, I just need Cameron Jackson, 6th round, whatever the hell, 5th round. Just please make it happen. We're out of Gators. There's no Gators on the team, and we've never won a Super Bowl without a Gator on the team. Book it. All right. So
that's a good pull, Parth.
Make it happen, man. Make it happen. It was 2 Gators, actually. When we only had 1 Gator, it didn't work. That was in 2022. We only had CJ, but in 2017 we had Jalen Watkins, a legend, and Trey Burton, and then this year we had Fred Johnson and CJ. So go get 2 Gators, Howie. Make it happen. Chim DK wide receiver 3 action. I'd like to see that, but sorry, yeah, you're saying, Pierre?
Yeah, it's Howie's MO to address the offensive line and everything like that, but I don't know, man. I think Lane Johnson. He'll be 35 in May. He said he feels like he can play 3 more seasons, and he's playing at an extremely high level. Is probably still the best right tackle in the league right now. But I think when you look at where this team is right now, I mean, and we're going to talk about this, but heading into the draft, I mean, you can kind of point to maybe 2 positions that you can say are necessarily holes. I mean,
nothing. There isn't a position I would necessarily say it's a quote unquote hole. I mean, I guess safety, because they need to get a body there. They don't have that. But
and Stu.
Who?
Edge.
I wouldn't necessarily call Edge a hole. I mean,
I think Edge has been addressed. So
Edge is,
we'll get to
and
that.
that's what I was just about to say. And I mean, I guess we can kind of use this as a launch into that conversation.
Yeah.
But we can have the Eagles version of this conversation because we're an Eagles podcast. I just can't let us have those other ones because we got stuff to handle. But I mean, let's be real with ourselves. We didn't sit here and address the Edge. We've addressed a lot of these. We've addressed guard. I mean, we made our own hole at safety, but let's be real. When the hell was the last time the Eagles took a safety in round one? And I mean, we said that about a lot of stuff.
Before last year, you can
that's
say
what I was about to say.
corner.
That's what we did say that about a lot of stuff.
If he falls into your lap, right? That was the thing that happened with Quinyon, right? And then Coop, they moved up for because they were like, all right, we had this guy's a first round grade. Let's go get him.
Yeah, but clearly they view the safety position in a specific type of way because I'm not just looking for and this ain't saying that Malachi Starks, if that's the guy that falls there, because that's if I'm being honest with you guys, that's the only safety that I would be willing to take there. I love Nick Emmanuel. I also think that's a project that you're gonna have to have in different roles. Like he's pretty scheme. I mean, he's gonna be scheme specific for me. And we got Coop there. So unless y'all trying to have different conversations with Coop or moving him outside or certain things like that, then I see no need to make that versus a guy like Malachi Starks where he can play all of these roles for you in the same breath for that.
Like, I mean, what do you think about Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame though?
I'd take Xavier. I don't think I'd take Xavier in round one. It's one of the if they trade it back, which this is where the whole conversation started at. If possible a potential trade back. If they trade it back, it kind of opens up the doors for a lot of things because I truly think that they're not done addressing edge. So me saying that they're not going to go edge in round one doesn't make me think they're finished because all of these guys, Azeez, Uche, they all here on 1-year deals.
You don't know who's you don't even know who's going to make it through camp, right? We signed what's his name, Devin White. Around this time as well.
And we see how that turned out.
Penciled in as the starter. So, yeah, I think that's a good point, Quell. I think the way I would put it is if they pick in the first round, I would probably assume it's a tackle. That would just kind of be.
I think they go best player available, but I think if the conversation comes down to a safety or a tackle,
that's my point. If it comes down to safety or tackle at that pick, and they're both equivalent on the board. They're probably going to go with the tackle. Is my thought. Now, if they move back, like Quell said, you get more picks, right? So then you have more opportunities, and then I think you could maybe see if they trade back, then maybe they take a safety higher in the second round or something like that. If some guy's dropping or something like that.
So let me ask y'all this: with them adding Kenyon Green and them having Tyler Steen already on the roster, right? Both of whom have played, the right tackle position. Do you think that factors into their decision making at all in terms of like? Either one of them being like a swing tackle?
Yeah, but no. I think they choose wisely, specifically because of what's going on along the interior. At the same time, I think them having the opportunity to land a quote-unquote game changer at said position would be like when you look back at the Eagles and they're like even them moving back into round one to go get Nolan, that's an edge rusher, a premium position. So if you see them picking at 32, I think that they would want to hunt a premium position because they know that whatever that position is outside of edge, because they're like 100 deep outside the club right now, they would. I'd invest in that now. Because start of day 2, you're going to see the start of some of these runs. Like, you'll see tackles. Like, it depends on if Josh Simmons goes round 1 or not. But him, gosh, I wish I remember how to say his name. The guy from Arizona State. It's a few guys out here where you could really buy some time on a tackle position. It's a few teams I feel like this again. I think it was the Browns that I actually had this conversation with, where you could have this same conversation. It just depends on which position you feel like you could buy the most time with. Quarterback, tackle, edge.
But to that point, I know we don't want to necessarily make decisions based off of what has happened in the past, but Lane has said he thinks he can play 3 more years. I know there's the injury history and everything like that, but I don't think you want a repeat of what happened when you took
your backup tackle right now?
They don't have one, do they?
No. I mean, you can make the argument Tyler Steen if we talk.
So then that's assuming that Kenyon Green is slid in right at guard, right? So I mean, I agree
or
with what
you
you're
just
saying.
say Kenyon Green. I mean, he plays some tackle at A&M, so
interesting. But so point is you don't really have. Oh,
damn, Pierre, you just
the Pierre Solo show. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You didn't agree with what we said. He's like, get him out of here, man. Get these suckers out of here, dude. No, I think they just, even though you took what's his name again? You just said Andre Dillard, in the past and those types of things. They also drafted Jordan Mailata that year, right? And so it didn't end up being exactly what we thought with him replacing Lane. It ended up just being the replacement on the other side. And so obviously Jordan is younger than Jason Peters was at that time, and you have those different dynamics on the team. But I think it would just be wise to invest in a tackle. And even when they drafted Andre, they mentioned his fifth-year option as a reason for doing that, in that, hey, you don't know, and then at least you have extended time.
But the thing when they did draft Andre, though, they didn't really get a chance to see him on the field because JP was, always there.
Well, so they tried to get him on the field, but then he was like,
I can't. Was bad.
Yeah, and he was like, I can't play different sides. So I think it's different with a bad pick, right? If you have a guy who, is just a better tackle, I think you might.
You interesting conversation zone. The guy I was talking about was Ariante Ursery from Minnesota, but you got guys like Ariante, Marcus Membo from Purdue, or my personal favorite in the circumstance, Josh Connolly from Oregon. But Josh Connolly is predominantly a left tackle, and I believe he can make the switch. He's overly athletic enough. He played running back in high school. Like the pick reminds me a whole lot of Lane in terms of the athletic background, where it's like, oh, okay. But even then, we see him. If you guys took a look at the Senior Bowl reps at right tackle positions, and that was when Mike Green got the best of him on that rep. So it's a growing. We heard what Andre Dillard said about it. Despite what some of these prospects do, it's like going from writing with your left hand to your right hand.
I think the issue my issue with Andre there was just the mentality. Like, it was just like, all right, bro. Like,
he went into it not expecting to succeed.
Yeah, and it's just like it's tough, but we trust you to do this. So give it your best and just see how it goes. So real
quick before we move on, does Darian Kennard factor into this discussion at all? Because I know, like, organizationally, like internally, I wouldn't say they were high on him, but they do like him.
They'll give him a chance. I mean, they give everyone a chance. They're fair about that, but I don't think he's going to really take advantage of the chance if he has it to this point, right? I just think them with Fred signing elsewhere, the tackle depth.
That stings, man.
Brother,
Fred was really good in spurts.
He was funny, dude. The videos, he was the funniest one, man. Like,
I thought they would have made it a priority to bring him back.
No, because we are drafting a tackle in round 1.
And that's exactly
Get ready to learn offensive tackle, buddy.
Yeah, you enjoyed your corner back-to-back year. Get back to basics, baby. Let's go. Back to the trench.
And that's a great way to put. That's exactly how I look at it.
Back to the trench.
Like, I done gave y'all say I don't do this, I don't do that. Howie had his running around like he popped all season, and now it's like, all right, now it's my time to shine. Exactly. All you wrestling fans, what did John Cena say? Your time is up, and my time is now. And that is what Howie Roseman is saying. It's time to go retool on the offensive and defensive lines. I'm intrigued if they would invest in the defensive line because I think they really like Morrow. At the same time, it was really a luxury having bodies like Morrow and Milton in the building, which is why you make the selection of both of them. So it wouldn't surprise me if they do, but I believe there's going to be a heavy dose of trench involvement on draft day.
And as there should be, those are probably the spots that will be most depleted over the next couple of years. Because I mean, corners, stupid young, safety has been taken care of, quarterback's been taken care of, receivers have been taken care of, and running back has been taken care of. So
Jalen's going to require an extension soon. I'm not gonna lie. I think Jalen's going to require an extension soon, though. I think like the market value,
Hurts, right. I mean, I don't. He's been signed, and I can understand this whole narrative of, well, you want to stay on top of the market value and things of that nature. But I think the
Tom Brady
only
didn't give a
thing,
damn.
right, the only thing that we're
That's
going
a
to get
saving
for a
grace.
Jalen Hurts extension is more so giving a kind of like what we got with the Saquon extension, giving us more cap room to work with. Might give him more bonus money that he can earn freely and stuff. Just things like that, just to get him more money to play with, which was what I think his contract was designed to be in the first place.
It's super
100
long, and
restructures.
it's not a ton over the years, especially these next couple of years. It's like very
And then
little.
it just
It's
explodes.
real in bonuses. Yeah.
But doesn't his deal have like a $90 million cap hit in like 2030?
Yeah.
2029.
Something
2029, everybody's cap hit is crazy. AJ, Devonta.
We're paying the price in 2029, so enjoy these next couple of years.
No. Come on, Parf. You know we better than that.
Listen. You give credit where credit is due, but there usually is a time where you don't have as much money as you might want, and
I get what
think
you're
that's
saying.
this year, though.
I'm
here
here
this year, like happening right now, though.
Boom.
Like,
thank you, Pierre. That's exactly what I was just about to say. Well,
yeah,
I get what you're saying.
It remains to be seen how it all
hear me out. I was explaining this to Pierre the last podcast. See, our front office, they're smart. I didn't think they were as smart as I should give them credit for. But it's a Brett Coleman piece. I'll send it over to you. I want you to watch it. It'll give you an idea of what's going on. But in 2029, the NFL has an opt-out for the TV deals, which means they're going to require more money from Fox and Netflix and all of these other places, which means the cap is going to go up tremendously. And Jeffrey Lurie, who has a history in TV media, he knew that. He knew, which is why he probably gave Howie the A-OK to let's go crazy now, but this is your timeline. Everything has to come up right here, and we'll figure out all that from there. But by the time we have to figure that out, we will be allocated a lump sum of money to the fact where hopefully it's minuscule. Now, all of these are projections, but I mean, based on past TV deals the NFL has done, why wouldn't you take this risk? So they've done their homework, for lack of a better term.
I think that's all true, and the salary cap goes up every year as well. Putting a lot of money into the future just tying up money into the future usually is not, the best business tactic. There is a time of reckoning of some sort, is my point. And even if it is, but like you said, you're like, oh, it's just happening this year. Yeah, we've lost a lot this year. It's not like we haven't lost anything. We lost a starting guard, we lost a starting D tackle, we lost a starting safety, and this is off of a Super Bowl run. And now
we didn't lose a starting D tackle. Losing a starting D tackle is subjective because
you wouldn't consider Milton a starter.
No, because he wasn't a 3-down player. There was occasions where he played 3 downs, but Jordan Davis exists for a reason. They rotated.
Okay, but he out-snapped Jordan Davis by the end of the season.
He
out-snapped Jordan Davis by a large margin.
But I'm saying all of these guys, like they.
So regardless,
I think they would say the only defensive tackle
he has your second most snaps at D tackle.
Yeah, sure, but I think that's something they think they can replace easily.
Maybe, but I mean, you might not replace the production. Yeah, there's a caveats with all this.
Production is so subjective because Milton Williams has 1 full year of great production.
It is subjective, but how do we know that we're going to get? How do we know that Morrow is going to get eight sacks next year? You don't. It's projection. I agree. It's projection, but it's projection both ways. You can't just be like, oh, it's projection on Milton to continue to do that, and then be like, oh, but Morrow's.
No, I'm not saying to continue to do it. I'm just saying that Milton had, like I said, he had a half a sack in
a year before.
Heading into that. So for them to say that, oh, basically the conversation you're having right now is the same thing they could have had with Milton then, and they took the risk, which they're taking the same risk on Morrow. Which, I mean, based on what we've seen from Morrow, we're not going to act like Morrow has played bad snaps. He's been really good.
I've been a fan of Morrow, but fact of the matter is you're losing one of your best players from your defense last year. I mean, we can try to talk circles around the year before, whatever, but last year, the year they won the Super Bowl, he was your second best D tackle, and it wasn't a question. And he got paid that way for a reason. He was one of the best players in the league that year, and that's okay. We can hope Morrow gets there, and he's been in the building. He's with Clint Hurt, who is a scary man who probably teaches these D-line boys how to use their hands and be nasty. So, I got faith in it, but I'm not going to sit here and just be like, it was a year where we didn't have a ton of money.
I just don't think you, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Milton. I think Milton is super talented. They took him in the third for a reason. At the same time as saying that, I think you are giving a lot of credit for what it's like to play next to Jalen Carter.
Agreed, but you still have to have an element. You still have to have a baseline level of talent to be able to get 8 sacks. You can play next to Jalen Carter and not be getting 8 sacks. Like, we've seen that. We've seen Jordan Davis get out there and struggle to produce at that level. Now, we're hoping Jordan Davis takes that step as well, along with Morrow, and you have these guys who you can replace. That's the name of the game. But to just say, it's like whatever, we're losing 8 sacks, it's not. He was a significant player on that team, and I think that means something.
I think it just goes back to Howie's comments at the combine. Like, they're going to depend on the younger guys to play and produce, right? Like, it's projection 100%. 100%.
We've gotten lucky with the young guys, is my point. The last couple of years, these young guys have come to play, and now there's coaching and those things and good drafting that goes into that. But the draft is also a crapshoot. You also have a lot of players who don't turn out, and that's my point. Look at last year's draft. It's pretty incredible.
But the one thing that the Eagles do that better than any other team, I would say, is to put these young players in position. Like, Milton didn't have to be Milton until it was time to be Milton, basically. Like, you know how many defensive linemen that Milton has played behind and before he had his time to be him?
We don't have that. That's my point, Quell. We don't have that this year. We're depending on a lot of young guys, and we're just like, hey, you're going to have to do it this year. That's okay. That's what these teams have to do. But it's not like there's like a ton of veteran presence in that room now. The veteran presence is Nolan.
It's Jalen Carter. It's Jordan Davis.
Carter and Nolan, but those aren't like, multi-year vets like we just talked about.
But that's the point. That's the point. I think that's how they want it to be.
Agreed. I agree with that. But my point is that it's not always going to succeed. Jalen Carter is a generational player. It's not like we're going to be picking Jalen Carter every year.
But
there's an element of luck that goes into this, and I don't know why that's an argument. When you're picking, you don't know for sure that you're just going to be getting guys who can produce.
I think picking a guy to play next to Jalen Carter allows you to pick guys per need. Yeah, I'm about to say pick guys per need. If you need a pass rusher, you can go draft a pass rushing D tackle because he's playing next to Jalen Carter. If you need a run stuffer, you can go draft a run stuffing D tackle because he's playing next to Jalen. Like, it allows you to get guys.
You can draft these guys. Where's the guarantee that they're going to produce early on in their career, which is what we are depending on them to do? I don't know what.
I guess that's my whole problem.
That's my point in all of this. It's just that you can't you can draft a certain type of player. You can be like, hey, you're playing next to Jalen Carter. But that doesn't mean they're going to be good. How many guys have we seen that just come out and they aren't that good?
My whole problem, and I keep referring back to Morrow, is we've act like that Morrow hasn't shown that he can produce. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was their most productive defensive tackle in the Super Bowl.
That's fine. Yeah, he was in those snaps. But did he play the entire year? Are you losing, or are you not losing the snaps that Milton Williams took?
I'm not losing the snaps that Milton Williams took, but I also ain't stupid enough to say, hey, Milton Williams wasn't on the field against Atlanta when they were saying, hey, we need pass rushing snaps. Moro Ajomo was that guy. Like, when they needed these pass rushing snaps throughout the course of the season, from the beginning to the end, they said, Moro, we believe in you. And a tad of that could have been to the fact that they knew they was going to lose Milton, because Milton's a damn talented player. But they showed the confidence in Morrow, and Morrow came through for them time and time again throughout the season.
Agree that can be fine, but then you put him in certain pass rush situations, which is fine. You had Milton Williams taking up the majority of the snaps, which goes back to the main point. You are losing a person who took a vast majority of your D tackle snaps besides Jalen Carter. To just say it's going to be replaced because we have faith in this guy, it's projection.
I mean, it's not. Yeah, nothing's 100%. Nothing's 100% certain. It's all projection. It's all projection.
That's the point. So that when we're saying in 2029, they're just going to figure it out, this year remains to be seen as well. You're comparing it to this year, and I think they have made moves. I think they've made the correct moves. Like, look, going into the offseason, I knew that there was going to be a lot of guys left. The only move that I didn't agree with was trading CJ, but I get it. You got to pay Jalen Carter next year. So there's sacrifices that you got to make. That being said, it remains to be seen how this all works out. I wanted to, and I think it can. I have faith in Moro Ojulari. I had faith in him. I wanted him to be getting more snaps. I said that I have faith in Jordan Davis to be able to take a next step, but it's all projection. We've wanted Jordan Davis to take these steps for the last couple of years, 3 years, right? So this is the 3 year rule that we can start using now and be like, hey, Jordan Davis, we want to see a little bit more, but like, yeah, you can take Javon Kinlaw and get zero production out of him. And you just never know. And so that's my point. That's my only thing is there's a lot of projection. I have faith in Howie. I have faith in the organization, but tying up a bunch of money in the future, my thought is more often than not, there's going to be a season of reckoning. And then you figure it out after. I mean, think back to, what was it?
So hold on, wait, give me a second.
Right?
Milton Williams played 501 snaps. That's 0.85% of the snaps. And Morrow played 388, which is 37.06. So there's 10% of snaps worth replacing. You don't think that you can get that?
And those 10% of snaps, he got 7. How many more sacks? 5 more sacks? How many did Morrow end with on the year? Like 3 or 4, probably?
Give me a second. I have to go searching for that. I'm just looking for snap count right now. Mm-hmm. But just while Pierre finds that, just in general, you don't think that I agree with your sentiment. Like there is a lot of projection, but that's kind of been the name of the game for the team in recent history. They've done a lot. We went into last year with the youngest defense in football. There was definitely a lot of projection to go out there and do. And we continue to lose pillars.
Right, so real quick, they put Moro Ojulari out there on pass rush snaps and all those types of things against the Falcons. 0 snaps in the regular season. 0 sacks in the regular season, 1 in the postseason. Mm-hmm. So there's projection. That's just my point.
Milton had 5 in the regular season and 2 in the postseason. So 7 total.
Okay.
That's my only point. Is like these players are young, they're good.
It's projection. It's projection. No doubt.
You got hungry dogs, but we just got to see how it all works out and how it all comes together. Now, of course, we have Vic Fangio now, and that makes a difference. But is Vic Fangio coaching in 2029? We'll see. You know,
Christian Parker, Tom
step into the shoes, brother. That would be so amazing. He's from Philly too. Like you replace a guy from outside of Philly with a guy from Philly on the Eagles. I mean, like that's more storybook stuff. But yeah, that's my only point. 2029, we'll see. We're really back. We're really back on the podcast.
Argument. He's 66.
How old is? Yeah, he's
66. We can get to about 72 with the old dog.
Okay, that's a good question. That's a good question. How long do you guys think we got Vic?
How old was Wade Phillips when he retired? Or not retired, but stopped coaching the NFL?
Wade Phillips was ancient, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like waddling up and down the sidelines, bro.
He's 77 right now. Dang.
He was 75 when he was coaching the XFL. So
his last season coaching in the NFL was 2019. So he's 77. So that's what, 6 years ago? He was 71.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's why I said we got about 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years, yeah. Okay.
2020,
so probably 2030-ish. 2030 would be a good year to retire, you know, and end of a decade.
Just
unless he's a 2029 team and he's like, bro, I'm out of here. They got no money.
Just point standing. I can understand your concern as to it's a lot of projection and we got to hope everything turns out. But my whole thing is, and it all hasn't always been immediate production, but we've seen historically looking at all of these guys from Nolan Smith down to Jalen Carter to Jordan Davis, all of these guys that they've invested in, even to the guys that have gone in and out in the defensive line over the last few years. They've gotten, if there's one thing that Philadelphia does is get defensive line production. It's what they carve.
I think it's an argument with Jordan Davis where you're getting outsnapped by guys drafted way after.
I mean,
Right?
How many games were we? How much were we winning though?
That can be fair. That can be.
They're
Look,
throwing the ball. He's not playing throwing snaps.
Jordan's impact.
They said it at the beginning that they believed in what he could evolve into as a pass rusher. We're not going to sit here and act like they only wanted him for a couple snaps because that's not what they said.
Okay, and maybe they're wrong.
Argument many times. But if you go by what the organization said, they want him to evolve into more. Huh?
There's a world where they could be wrong that he didn't turn into what they projected him to be, and still are okay with him being the dominant first and second down player that they can have.
If you're playing, they want him. If you're playing 35 to 40% of the snaps, it's not worth a first round pick. I'm sorry. That's throughout the league. That's not what they want for a first round pick. You can get that from you can get that production from a second round pick or lower. Other teams have done it.
If
you don't need to
do it. His entire career is going to be the first round pick thing.
We talk about it because he was a first round pick. We put that into him. If you put his play against other players, there's players who are picked lower who play as well as him. It's not like they knock it out of the park
every day.
I think it's when you talk about Jordan Davis, and we've had this conversation before, but I think it's system specific. For this specific system, Jordan Davis is fine for what he is. That's my opinion.
Boom.
I think he's a fine player. I don't think he was worth the first round pick.
I'm saying your whole argument is going to be
if you
get players who do what Jordan Davis does, they have Jordan Davis off the field even on first and second down in games because there's players who can do what he does. They've had other guys out there. It's not like they didn't.
Who does?
They had Milton out there on first and second down as well. It wasn't always
he can do what Jordan Davis does.
I mean, they were still able to stop.
If they had Milton there on first and second down, it's probably because they played against a team that kept it honest.
Most teams don't just want to take a one-dimensional player in the first round, especially when they say we hope he can evolve into more. You might be able to say, oh, he's fine for what he is, but that's not what they projected with him. And on top of that, you're saying, oh, maybe they didn't produce, or maybe it took a while or whatever. Well, shit, if you're in 2029 and it's a year where the guys are still figuring it out, then 2029 will be pretty ugly, and then 2030 could be amazing. That's my point, is with young players, with projection, you don't know. You don't have the timeline. We talked about the 3-year rule at the beginning of this pod, how long it took Brandon Graham to figure things out.
How long it took Nolan Smith? How long? Yeah. But the whole prospect of all these is having them play next to amazing players to learn from them. It
still took time, Quell. It still took time. They needed to have guys in front of him. They needed to bring him along slowly. And then he evolved into the player he is. But it's not like it happened overnight. He was not the same player that he was this year, last year. No one's going to say that. He was completely different as a player. He had experience. He had snaps. He had more of a pass rusher.
Moro Ojomo, who just played in a Super Bowl, who played probably more snaps than a lot of other defensive tackles across the league, didn't get the same experience in reps. It's crazy.
Okay. We can say that he had experience, but again, there's still a gap in becoming a starter and seeing how you produce in that spot. And even then, Nolan didn't have it figured out at the beginning of the season. It still took time, and that's with veteran presences in the room. You got Nolan and you got Jalen Carter, but you don't have a BG anymore. You don't have people who have seen everything.
We could leave it at this as we move on, but my last point is I'm going to take a risk on the team who continues to offer contracts to players in this exact same position who had never produced, as in Tim Jernigan and Javon Hargrave, and never did nothing in their previous teams and starting roles, but they were projections as to what they could do alongside Fletcher Cox as defensive tackle. Fast forward to this year, and you have Jalen Carter, and they continue to make the same gamble. And the team who continues to have success at defensive tackle 2, I will think will continue to have success at defensive tackle 2 because they have success at defensive tackle 1. That's my whole argument. I don't know what more you want to say about it.
Again, it's projection. And there have been times.
And they've continued to show you that it works. So what do you want me to say about it?
And you just named 2 guys who came in as veterans with experience from other teams.
What do you think Moro Ojomo is now?
Moro Ojomo was a second or third year player. You're talking about fifth-year players who were coming in after playing their first contract. They're second contract players, Quell. You're talking about guys who signed after their first contract. After Moro's not on his second contract yet. He's still on his first contract. You're bringing up second contract players coming over from another team. This is a guy who's been in-house. I think he can be fine, but you're just like, oh, we're going to be totally fine. Look,
because they've
you can't
continued to
just
show
say that.
again. So I guess my whole thing. What do you think they did with Milton, Parth?
They've been using him on pass
What
rush
do you think
snaps.
they did with Milton?
The guy had zero sacks all year. He's the pass rush.
Milton had a half a sack prior to this year. But what are we doing? They've continued to show that they can project at the position.
What was Milton replacing last year? Milton wasn't replacing anything in 2022 or in 2023. We didn't have anything. We had
Javon Hargrave.
Javon Hargrave didn't have a great season, Quell.
But we know that what Javon Hargrave at his best was. Come on, let's not act like he wasn't replacing
Was he that year? Did they go to the Super Bowl that year? Did they win the Super Bowl that year? No.
Okay, if you're gonna base your team building off of 1 year, then
because we're the Eagles and they can replace anything on the defensive line. And I think that's an unrealistic way of looking at it. There are going to be misses. There are such thing as busts. There are such thing as projection that doesn't work out. And just to say because we have Jalen Carter, we're fine, I think that's irrational.
It's not necessary to say that. All I'm saying is I'm taking a risk on a team who they've shown projection both on the offensive and defensive line, and it continues to work out.
Say that,
so why would I not? If I'm gambling on something that continues to work, why would I not continue to gamble with it?
You can gamble with it. But guess what? Sometimes it's going to come back and be a bust. Marcus Smith was drafted by this team. It's not like they just drafted all these guys.
Can you name along the interior?
Huh?
How many Eagles busts can you name along the interior?
I don't know.
I bet you can name more stars than busts.
You tend to forget the busts.
Exactly, because they do so damn well developing them.
After this pod, I will go through and look at the D tackles they've taken, and I can find places where they haven't succeeded every time. To just say, oh, the Eagles, anything, bring in anybody. We'll figure it out. That's not how it works. We've seen bad defensive lines on this Eagles team. It's not like they've been dominant every year. 2023, they sucked. They weren't a good defensive line. They had good players. They weren't a good defensive line. I mean, it's just like, oh, yeah.
Right.
It's just Eagles.
Okay.
It's not an argument.
To put a bow on it, the projection is there. They've had success in the past. Will they have success again? That remains to be seen. I
probably would bet my bottom dollar on it.
Let's touch on the Azeez Ojulari signing before we head out because we're over an hour right now. Okay, for me, since you guys have had the airtime just now, let me get my takes off. Let me get my takes off on the Azeez Ojulari signing. For me, I think this is probably the best signing of the offseason in terms of addition so far. This is a 24-year-old who's shown he can be effective in the league. Even last year, he had 6 sacks. I think he hit the opposing quarterback on about 4.7% of his pass rush snaps, which was about 200 total pass rush snaps, which that puts him in the company of guys like Joey Bosa and former Vic Fangio favorite Andrew Van Ginkel. I know Ojulari, he's struggled in the past with injuries and things like that. It's kind of like Zack Baun and kind of similar to what we said about Saquon, kind of touching on the conversation we just had. He hasn't played at the NFL level. He hasn't played with a guy of like Jalen Carter's caliber since playing at Georgia. So I think, this signing, it could yield positive results. At the same time, though, because of what we know about him in terms of the injuries and kind of how he sort of struggles to maintain consistency and things of that nature, I think, expectations should maybe be tempered. Mm-hmm. But there is upside with this signing.
Mm-hmm. Massive upside with the signing. It's hilarious we talk about this and coming off the conversation that Parth and I just had. I mean, you look at some mock drafts. I think in Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock, he had the Eagles taking Shamar Stewart at 32. And that's
he's the guy. He's the guy that has like 1 sack over 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
Crazy athletic, but just
he has 4.5 sacks over 4 years, but he had 1.5 sacks this year. No, he's not lazy. He's far from.
No, I'm not doing that.
Who's the lazy guy?
It's based on pure projection, but he also led the team in pressure, so it's not like he wasn't getting to the quarterback. At the same breath, my whole argument was shout out to JP in the game. They kind of put me on game to this, and I had to go back and watch, but I don't appreciate how Texas A&M used their edges. They didn't put them in the best position to succeed. They wasn't just pure pass rushers. So how the hell do you expect me to succeed? And that's not my job. So I'm interested in seeing him in a role where he can just go get after the quarterback. I think he could be a modern day Azeez Ojulari, which I was talking to someone on Twitter and I was saying, having the opportunity to bring him in, I'd be excited to have him learn from Azeez, because when you think about Azeez and him coming in, it was a lot of projection. He had all the traits in the world, minimum production, but it was being able to put him in position. Because when you talk about Georgia is the same way that I was talking about with A&M, where they not necessarily we're gonna stop the run first, and then we're gonna worry about getting after the pass, things of that nature. And that's not necessarily putting your edges in the best position to succeed. So, I mean, when you see these guys in a position where they can be pure pass rushers and you can see the exact traits and the repertoire that they have to their name, it becomes intriguing. So I can see why anybody who's not a fan of the whole traits over tape thing or projections and things of that nature wouldn't want the selection. I don't think that'd be his. I don't think they'd be coming into Philadelphia. They ask him to be Brandon Graham. That's Nolan Smith's job. And then we'll ask you to be Josh Sweat, which, I mean, he got asked to do a little different things every now and then, but for the most part, he was a pass rusher, which I think he can excel at that if that's what the role is.
Yeah, I agree with what Quell said. I think he's going to be good as a pass rusher. I don't know if I would, be putting him in the same conversation as Nolan Smith in the run game, because I mean, Nolan Smith was probably the best run defender at the edge position in the league last year. And I don't think that's like talking out of the side of my mouth or anything. Like, I think he legitimately was. He injured 3 guards who were pulling.
Hey, who was that in the playoffs? Like, he just smacked. Was that was a Packers player,
Trey
right?
Smith. He smacked Trey Smith in the Super Bowl, and then there was somebody on the Rams. Yeah, I think he did it too as well, and then the Commanders. There was someone on the Commanders too, right?
I think so.
Yeah. He like just nasty player, dude, and you gotta love it. Our producer put in here that Azeez's parents met in Philly via Nigeria, which is cool. So, Philly ties there as well. I remember hearing about that back in the draft. He was a big ZB guy. ZB was really big on Azeez Ojulari that year. I remember that.
Let me ask y'all this as we kind of put a bow on the episode, right? Like, we kind of talk a lot about culture and chemistry and everything like that and how much that matters. He's the, I think, 6th member of that 2022 or 2021 UGA team that they've signed. How much does that matter when you look at the projection of what this signing could be? Like, we know that he's had production before surrounded by these same players. So you think that could translate since he's back on this team now with those same players?
Just listen to how he talked, man. Like, I truly in my heart firmly believe that he thinks that keeping these guys together means something. Like, having it, not just the connection on the field, but off the field, having you playing next to guys that you're comfortable with, having you playing next to guys that have previously held you accountable, things of this nature, like all that stuff. I think he thinks it matters. I'm not saying it does or doesn't. It could play a role in certain players. Yeah. I'm not sure if it'll be an all 11 thing, but
I think it plays in the way
11, right?
I think it plays in the way you did. I don't know. I don't want all 11. Get them the hell out of here. This is enough, dude. We're reaching a point of it's getting past cute. It's getting nasty now. All right, I don't want this shit anymore, man. But
you're gonna be a certified a certified Dogs fan at some point.
It's nasty, man. I'm in Athens right now. There's football players living down the hall, and I see them, and I'm like, Gators beating your ass next year, man. I'm thinking it in my head. Looking up, bro. There's some O tackle, bro. He's 6'5". I'm like, all right, bro. Like, you don't need to be that tall. I'm used to being like on my campus, dude. Like, I was one of the taller guys on the football team, man. And now I'm looking around. Besides, some of the old tackles, but now I'm like, all right, bro. Like, some of y'all are too big. But point being,
know what they say, it just means more.
It does. Hey, 14 teams on the tourney too. All right, just so y'all know. All right,
we
do both.
We do both.
So are you in the tourney? Are you in the tourney?
Beat their ass so bad. They out here flexing basketball, buddy.
You in the tourney?
No, we worried about spring.
I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. Two sport school, football and basketball. You could never, buddy. All right. But going back to this point at hand, I think it matters in the ways that Quell mentioned. I think, having guys that you've played around, the accountability aspect, the relationship aspect of that is very much relevant. Now, when it comes to the field, I think I have my questions. maybe it's like riding a bike, you know, because I didn't play football long enough to leave and then go back to playing next to somebody or something like that, where you just kind of understand things like that. So that very much could be something that happens, but you know, who knows? Players change the way they play.
At least they're trying to collect the best ones.
Listen, it's fine. Only thing with Azeez is just injury history, right? So it's just going to be like how healthy is he? Because he's clearly talented when he's on the field, but it's going to be a question of health.
So we just want to go see him next to Nakobe for a second. They can go talk. They can talk about it. Get this figured out.
Is Nakobe the one to go see? I mean, shouldn't he go sit next to somebody who's been healthy? Like,
no. You need to understand what it's like to go through pain. You need someone to talk through pain with you.
No, go sit next to Jalen Carter and do what he does so you don't get injured, bro. Like Nakobe Dean has gotten injured every year. We don't get injured this year, man.
Look,
but when I call him injury prone, y'all look at me like I'm crazy.
He's my guy. That's why you're not allowed to say that. Okay, get out of here. Yeah. Did you argue on draft night for him?
I'm about to say you didn't scout the player, so you have no rights.
Get out of here, bro. That was my guy, man. Slandering Nakobe. I'm only allowed to slander my guys, bro. I don't know what you think this is.
But all right, man. I think that's gonna do it for this episode. We're at 1 hour and 10 minutes. It was a good stream. Good stream.
Quick
thank
question.
you to all. Yeah.
How do you guys feel about an Elijah Qualls?
He went to Washington, right?
I don't know. Let me check.
I think he went to Washington. If that's the same player I'm thinking of.
Somewhere. No, man. He's from California, so Washington would make sense.
What are we doing here, man?
Before we get out of here, where did Elijah Qualls go to college? University of Washington. Look at that.
Look at him. Score one for the P. If this was a video game, he'd have made that same face like that. And then the glasses would have dropped down from the air onto his face. And it'd have been like, Aura +1.
Aura P. So y'all know, when he's talking about Aura, it's because he thinks Jalen is cute.
Oh, man.
I'm going to officially define Aura on our next pod just because you said that.
Why you got to wait till the next pod? You don't have a definition in your back pocket? Because you're always saying it.
I got to write it down. I'm going to write it down.
Bro's going to ask ChatGPT, describe what Aura is. No. You can cut. No. We're not cutting this off. I want the Pierre definition for Aura right now. Unfiltered, unadulterated. What is Aura? Because to me, it's you said Aura, the camera angles. What did he say? The cutaways. Pierre's gonna make a Jalen Hurts glamour edit. It's gonna have like music in the back.
The fan cam. Fan cam. No, okay, I'll define it. To me, Aura is just like you know how like around draft time you hear people talk about the intangibles, right? Like you look at that guy and you say he has it, right? Like to me, that's what Aura is. That's a player or a person that you can look at and you say he has it. You can bet your bottom dollar, whatever it is, he has it. That's Aura.
I think kind of. Maybe you're on. My first instinct was to argue it because I'm just like, what if you have the intangibles but you don't have Aura? And then I was thinking like, what if it doesn't work out? But I'm thinking back. The one example I can think of a guy who just had the intangibles but it didn't work out. It's one guy.
Tebow?
Old Timmy, man.
I knew it. As soon as he said it, I was like,
that was Aura.
You talking about Aura? I promise you, there will be no other team that plays as hard as we play.
My wall, bro.
There will be no other player that plays as hard as me.
Against FSU, his whole jersey's covered in red. He's got like the face paint. Like, dude, they're just like that. That was Aura, man. That was Aura. So you know what, Pierre?
You're right.
Tip of the cap, brother. You were right. That is Aura. That is Aura, man. That was we don't even need the ChatGPT definition. I can't even make fun of it anymore because god damn it, Tim Tebow had Aura, man.
I just hope that all y'all was live to see this because this not going on a re-release. You had to been here to see this. We might release a reel of it, but this is raw, unfiltered Aura.
I'm gonna do an Aura rankings. I'm gonna do an Aura ranking episode before the season starts.
Bro said I'm more. This is what I want this offseason is just aura rankings. Yeah. All right. So it's just like players in the NFL aura wise.
Yeah.
But see, this is an intriguing conversation because then you get into some of these guys who have aura, but I wouldn't say they got all the intangibles. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't like Jamar Chase. He has aura, right? When he's playing, like you got to give the credit, but I don't think he has all the intangibles. You know, he's too much diva receiver talk. There's always something with him. So I don't think it's different types of aura. So an aura rankings episode will be great. I think I think what we should do is like put on suits and like all wear glasses and discuss aura.
I'm for it. But that's what we'll do for this episode. Thank you to all 139 of you who tapped into the stream. We're gonna release this as a pod that'll be out tomorrow. So if you're listening, whichever podcast streaming platform you're listening on, be sure to leave us a like and a review. Rate us 5 stars. Got some big things coming down the pipeline, draft coverage, and not a little bit, but some other things that we're very excited about. I'm not going to reveal anything, but just know things are in the pipeline. Appreciate you for tapping into the stream. Go Birds.
Yeah, I got to be back, man. It was hour and 15 minute stream, and Quell and I yelled at each other for half hour. Go Birds, baby. We are so back. Love.
You didn't say go Birds, Q.
I just said go Birds with the love hurts up there. Doom.
It rhymes. It rhymes.
Thank you for
listening, man.
Yeah.
Hey, did you say Jalen Hurts wasn't a top 10 quarterback? Hey, did you thought Pierre was wrong about what he said about Jalen Hurts?
Hate that you got it wrong.
Nah, hey, yo.
Pierre's alarm